So guidance for standards 1 to 7. So with this, you can clearly understand where we have some 7 standards, and some guidance is nothing but piece of advice. Okay, guidance means advice, correct? Or a piece of advice or something which can give you some information. Am I right?
Yes,
So
sir.
like, yeah, what is guidance? Guidance is nothing but either a advice or information aimed at resolving a problem or difficulty. This is especially given by some authority, correct? So that is what is guidance. Guidance, if you know this word properly, then you can understand the things properly, correct? So someone who is very experienced can give you guidance. If I am giving you some guidance on something, that means I'm trying to resolve some problems which you have, because I know the solution for that. I can resolve it because I am someone experienced in that, correct? Or some advice, some piece of information, some piece of advice, something like that. So guidance for standards. So how the standards get guidance? Let us see. Okay. So let's go for the first question. Demonstrate the application of code of ethics. That means how will you apply this code and the standards of professional conduct. That means being a professional, what kind of conduct you should have. There are certain standards for that. To situations involving issues of professional integrity. So wherever there is a issue on profession, like there are some situations whereby there is some kind of issue related to professional integrity or professional honesty or whatever, then like how the code of ethics have to be applied, and and what are the standards of professional conduct to be followed. Okay. So it is nothing but whenever you are in some situation or scenario whereby there is a chance of you like doing something which is not to be done, then you are not doing that because you definitely know the code of ethics and the professional of and the standards of professional conduct, or how these standards will help you in resolving those kind of things whereby there is a conflict of interest. Understood what I mean with this? Yes. Now, so yeah, so here we go. So the standards of practice handbook is included in its entirety in the CFA curriculum as readings 2 and 3 of volume 1. So you can find out this thing there. Standards of practice. So what are the standards of practice, or what kind of standards you should follow if you're practicing, or if you're a consulting firm? That is there's a handbook for that which has all the details about this, how to what you should follow if you are practicing or giving some advisors or consulting someone. So that you can find here, and you can also download a PDF of standards of practice handbook at the from the website of CFA Institute. And this is not important information for us. Let's move forward. So in our summary of standards of practice, they are not giving you a detailed overview of the standards of practice, but they have summarized this thing. So let us see what is the summary. We focus on describing 3 things: actions that clearly violate the subsection 2, the subsection. That means what are the actions by a professional which can violate, okay, the subsection. So we'll see everything here. The behaviors that each subsection is intended to either encourage or discourage. That means what kind of behavior you should have, what is encouraged, and what kind of behavior is discouraged from you being a member or candidate. Recommended best practices for members and their firms. So if you're a member and you are working in an organization, if you have your own consulting firm, what are the best practices recommended? So ultimately, these are all like guiding you how you should have a professional conduct, okay, or how being a professional you should deal with the clients or with this, or your attitude should be towards the society or like kind of in the organization where you are employed or something. So in many cases, the actions that members and candidates, members are the ones who are a CFA and candidates are the ones who are like into the program or who are pursuing this, must not take. So in many cases, the actions that members and candidates must not take, that means something you should not do, are explained using terms open to interpretation such as reasonable, adequate, and token. So in many cases, the actions that members and candidates must not take are explained using terms open to interpretation. That means what, like what does they want to tell you what you should do and what you should not. What is reasonable for you? Okay. So if something, if I'm like offering you something, is that reasonable for you to like accept my offer, or what is adequate for you in actuality? What should be that? What should be good for you? And token. Okay, these are the three terms they're using. Now let's go ahead. Some examples from standard themselves are: use reasonable care and judgment to achieve. So this is the point here. So of course, being a professional, you should be using very reasonable care and judgment in doing any of the task or performing any task. Accept any gift that reasonably could be expected to compromise. So do you think you want to accept any good that can compromise your work?
No.
Why? It's a violation, correct?
Yes.
So some examples from standard. So use reasonable care and judgment to achieve your goals or objectives. Accept any gift that reasonably could be expected to compromise. See, you can take a gift from someone. It doesn't matter if it's a personal thing. But if you're doing a job and to do a job, you're accepting some gift or some kind of kickbacks, those are not allowed. That can compromise your work. And act with reasonable care and exercise prudent judgment. You should be wise at times when you are supposed to take some crucial, when you are supposed to judge something. Deal fairly and objectively with all clients. Of course, make a reasonable inquiry into everything wherever you are skeptical about something, or you are suspicious, so you have some doubts. Make reasonable efforts to ensure that whatever you do ethically. That means they did not give the total statement, but we can understand. Might reasonably be expected to create a conflict of interest with. It can happen at times with you. Have a reasonable and adequate basis. Use reasonable judgment in. So the task, whatever you perform, and matters that could be reasonably expected to impair. What impair your image? Okay. So the requirement of LOS is that this is the, you know what constitutes a violation. That means you should clearly know, being a student candidate or being a member, that what are the activities which are forbidden for you. That means which you should not do, which you should, if you do those tasks, it constitutes a violation. That means you are not following the CFA Institute's guidelines or some guidelines with subject to ethics. So violation, not that you draw a distinction between what is reasonable and what is not in a given situation. That is not, see, what is good, what is bad is a secondary matter, but don't do any task which violates. Okay. We believe the exam writers take this into account, and that if they intend, for example, to test whether a recommendation has been given without reasonable care and judgment, it will likely be clear either that the care and judgment exhibited by the analyst did not arise to level of reasonable, or that it did. So what does it mean? We believe the exam writers and that if they intend, that means if their intention is, for example, to test whether a recommendation has been given. That means if someone has recommended you for something without reasonable care or judgment, of course, without reasonable care or judgment, if I give you some recommendation, will you follow? It is not reasonable. Am I right? Your side. See, if I give you a recommendation, okay, without any reasonable care or judgment, will you follow that?
No, sir, I would not.
That itself is not reasonable for you to do, correct? That's what. So no monetary value for a token gift is given in the standards. That means they did not say that how much value worth gift you should accept. It's not mentioned anywhere, but you should know it's a common sense that gifts should be if gifts are given to you with some some of your friends offer something, it's okay, but some unknown person who is a client of the company or your employer, and he's giving you gifts and he wants you to perform certain tasks, by accepting those gifts, then it is not allowed. So there's no mention of anything like that, like how much worth of gift you can accept or what. So no monetary value for a token gift is given in standards. All that is recommended that a firm establish such a monetary value for its employees. Yeah, it is important that the firm should do. They should be very clear that you can accept gifts of how much value, which would be like something like if someone is giving you a chocolate box, it doesn't matter. See, you are not going to do some out of the box work for him, correct? If it's a gold, if it's a holiday ticket or something, then it's a different matter. So here again, the correct answer to a question will not likely hinge on candidate's determination of what is a token gift and what is not. Questions should be clear in this regard. A business dinner is likely a token gift, but a week at a condominium in Aspen, that means he is giving you some weekend tickets, okay, to go somewhere or to Super Bowl or likely not. See, these are big ones. Like they are spending a lot of money for your leisure activities or for entertainment or for anything else. So do you think that is justified? Can you accept that kind of gift? No, that can be something with some kind of intention that they want to in the sense want you to do certain tasks what they what is in their favor. Okay, so that is understood that that kind of gifts are not acceptable. So always look for clues in the questions that lead you to the question writer's preferred answer choice as lavish entertainment and luxury accommodation. So if anything is very lavish, luxurious or anything, definitely you should be away from that. Beware of those things. Next, we present a summary of each subsection of standards of professional conduct. So we are going to study the standards of professional conduct here. Okay, for each one, we first detail actions. So see, regarding the professional conduct. So here we see standards are meant for what? Standards are meant for the betterment of the users. Okay, if you follow the standards, there are less chances that you'll do any kind of, or there can be any error from your side. That's what accounting standards are also known for. Excuse me, just a second. So see, the standards are very essential because those would, if you follow those standards of professional conduct, then there's less chance from your side doing any kind of mistake, like with subject to the professional conduct, or if the standards of professional conduct are given to you, and those standards will guide you how you should follow the how you should have a what kind of professional conduct you should have. Okay, so we will see what kind of details the standards have. So for each standard, whatever you're going to see here, what are they like giving under those standards, or what kind of guidance you find from those standards, or how the standards can help you to follow this conduct very very properly. So we first detail actions. First, what they would do, the standards would tell you what are the would violate the standard itself. That means some activities if you perform that is against the standard. Standard doesn't say you to do those activities. That means those are like omissions from the standard. That means those activities you shouldn't perform, first of all. So we first detail actions that violate the standard and then list actions and behaviors that are recommended within the standards. So if the first and foremost thing what you're going to see in each and every standard is the actions that violate the standard itself, and then the list and then list actions and behaviors that are recommended within the standard. That means first thing what a standard will tell you is it will teach you about the violations. That means the activities which violate the standards. And second point, what can correct this violation? A proper behavior. Okay. So what kind of behavior you should have and what kind of actions you should perform. Okay. That the standard would recommend you. So first thing is it will tell you about the violations, okay, which you shouldn't do, and then it will tell you about the necessary activities or actions which you should perform, okay, or which are recommended by the standard. That means first thing they will say what you should not do, and second thing they'll say what you should do. That's what. So the violations essentially well, so you understand that the order items are recommended. For the exam it is not necessary to memorize standard number and subsection letter, not required. Knowing that an action violates, for example, what kind of action is a violation? Professionalism rather than duties to employers or duties to clients should be sufficient in this regard. Okay, so knowing that an action violates, for example, any suppose professionalism rather than duties, so you should be very much professional in performing your duties towards your employers and your clients, but not the professionalism should be shown for something else. If you are showing that for something else, it is not accepted. You understand what I'm saying? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So note that some actions may violate more than one standard. Yes, some actions are such thing that it may impact 2 or 3 standards, whereby those actions are not required like to be performed by you. Okay, if you do perform those actions, then 3 or 4 standards like may have some interrelationship, so they may get like it may violate more than one standard as well. Okay, so I'll tell you what kind of situations or scenarios you may have in that case. Now just a second, let's start. One way to write questions for this metal is to offer a reason. uh, Getting a call, just a second. Yeah, Vijay. So one way to write questions for this material is to offer a reason that might one believe a standard does not apply in a particular situation. Yeah. One way to write questions for this material is to offer a reason that might make one believe a standard does not apply in a particular situation. So like where the standard is not applicable, those kind of things. If you can show some situation of that kind, then uh, like that may kind of some kind of question can be posed in that way. So they are saying one way to write questions like means what kind of question these guys may ask. Sometimes they may ask you questions where the standards are not applicable. Okay. So in most, if not all cases, the reason does not change the requirement of the standard. So if you are prohibited from some action, if you are prohibited from some action, the motivations for the action or other circumstances simply do not matter. So if you are prohibited, like if it is a requirement that you should not perform something, that's what they are saying. If you are prohibited from some action, the motivations for the action, that means why you did that particular task or other circumstances simply do not matter. Okay, it doesn't matter what were the circumstances which made you to do a prohibited task, it doesn't matter. So if the standard says it's a violation, it's a violation. That means if suppose there is Mr. A who is involved in some theft and he is doing that theft for the betterment of poor people. So do you think it is good? The task what he is doing is good. It's like something helping someone is good, but helping with the wrong action is not justified, is not good, correct? That's what. So an exception is when intent is key to the standard, such as intending to mislead clients or market participants in general. So that's what they're saying. See, if you are, that's what here I'll repeat the statement. If see the point here, the motivations for the action or other circumstances simply do not matter. If the standard says it's a violation, it's a violation. That means you are doing some wrong deed or you are doing some prohibited task. That means something which you should not do. The motivations for the action, that means what made you to do that task or other circumstances. So what motivated Mr. A is he's like a Robin Hood. So what motivated Mr. A is poor people are suffering. So now A wants to help poor people, but A can help poor people by earning and like distributing the money to them or helping them with their financial needs. But what A has done, A has chosen a wrong path. He's involved in theft. He's looting people or he's cheating some people or he is robbing people, and from that money is helping these poor people. That is absolutely wrong thing. Okay. So now the intention is important. The intention is good, but the intention to help poor people is good, but the intention with which he is cheating people. Okay, the intention here what's the key actually? See, ultimately the task is not something which is acceptable. Okay, so an exception is when the intention is key to the standard, such as intending to mislead clients or market participants in general. So if there is Mr. X who wants to make good money, making good money is not bad, but making good money by cheating people or having a intention from previous, like his mindset is like that he wants to cheat people or mislead people and make his money, that is not justified. Okay. Let us now enter into the like standards. The first standard, knowledge of law. The first standard is about knowledge of law. So what the standard says, let's understand. Members and candidates must understand and comply with all applicable laws. The first standard says that you being a member of this institute, or you being a candidate or potential member of the institute, you may become the member after clearing the exam, should always know the laws, the rules and the regulations. Okay. Apart from the law of the land, apart from the rules and regulations, you should also have good amount of knowledge of all this. What? CFA Institute Code of Ethics and Standards of Professional Conduct. Okay. So what you should know, being a member or candidate, the laws, okay, the rules, the regulations, the code of ethics of CFA Institute, and also standard of professional conduct. Okay. So like here we are now, all the applicable laws, rules and regulations of any government regulatory organization. Government is nothing but, if I say India, Indian government, or US government, if I say US regulatory organization, with respect, there are many regulatory organizations. Some of the examples we can give as Stock Exchange Commission in United States or SEBI in India, let's say from India's perspective, licensing agency or professional association governing their professional activities. Here we can say CFA Institute. So you should follow all the laws and the rules and regulations made by the various regulatory authorities and also the professional institutes, like guidelines on how you like what kind of conduct you should have, and also the code of ethics. Now, in the event of conflict, like when there may be some scenarios whereby you should follow all this, but what happens, you may not follow this because following all this would not give you some benefits. You think like that. If you follow all this, if you follow ethics and all this very properly, then you may not make quick money or quick bucks. So if there is any, in the event of conflict, members and candidates must comply with more strict law, rule or regulation. That means if someone is giving you some gift, so there what happens, they want you to perform a task from uh, like uh, uh, like in the sense in their favor. That means they want some task to be done by you by accepting some gifts, and those tasks would benefit them. Okay. So there can be some tasks, like for example, they want a tender from you, or they want some kind of business from you, and they are bribing you, or they are like giving you some gifts. And then in those cases, there's a conflict because now you are seriously thinking about this particular scenario, or you want to exploit that opportunity by accepting those gifts and giving the business opportunity to your to the people who are off gifts. In that case, what the institute says is you should be more strict and you should be following the rules and regulations more strictly. That means never give them any scope of such kind of activities, or never allow them to kind of approach you for all this. You should be very in the sense very systematic in following the rules and regulations. That means they should never have that opportunity to come to you and give all this offers. Okay. So that kind of attitude or approach you should have towards such kind of people. Now, members and candidates must not knowingly participate or assist in and must disassociate from any violation of such laws, rules or regulations. That means you should never participate or you should never be a part of anything which violate any of the laws, rules and regulations, or you should disassociate yourself from any kind of acts which are against the law, rules and regulations. These are the points what the standard number 1 says. Now, it's very clear. I think you have understood. Abhijit, are you following? Hello.
Yes, sir. So far, so good.
Yeah, because it's very simply understood that you should follow all the laws and never do such activities which are against the law, and or else you should always disassociate yourself from any violation of laws, rules, and regulations. That's it. Now, the standards begin with straightforward statement. Don't violate any laws, rules, or regulations that apply to your personal that apply to your professional activities. That means there are some laws, rules, regulations you should follow for because you're a professional and your activities also want them to follow. Don't violate any laws, rules, and regulations like while performing your duties or while performing your professional activities. So what does that have? This include the code and standards. So any violation of code and standards, code of ethics or standards of professional conduct will also violate this subsection. Okay. So a member may be governed by different rules and regulations among the standards, the country in which the member resides. So you should not violate. These are okay, very clearly understood. If you know that violations of applicable rules or laws are taking place, no, see, you should not do that. First of all, you should follow strict, you should have a strict approach with respect to following all these laws, rules, and regulations. Okay. And you should not violate, or you should not put anyone else to also violate all this. That means you should not put anyone else in such kind of situations where they also violate, or anyone who is violating, you should not keep quiet in that case. Even you should act like a whistleblower, or you should come out, you should like in the sense like bring that news to the notice of the management of the company that your co-workers are involved in some malpractice or not following the rules and regulations, or code of ethics or whatever. Okay. So if you know that violations of applicable rules or laws are taking place in a company where you work, either by co-workers or clients, CFA Institute strongly encourages members and candidates to report potential violations. That's what you should report. One way to do so is to approach your supervisor or compliance department to remedy the situation. So you should approach them and bring all these things to their notice. So if they will not or cannot, then you must disassociate from the activity. That means if they are not acting, or if they are not taking any action against those co-workers who are involved in some malpractices, or who are not following the rules, regulations, or complying with the strict rules and code of ethics and all, then you should immediately disassociate yourself from that particular company or activity or whatever. Okay. Example, not working with a trading group is not allocating client trades properly according to standard on fair dealing, or not using marketing methods that or should know are misleading or erroneous. That means if you are with a company which is doing some kind of cheating or misleading their customers, you should immediately disassociate from that kind of company because it is against your standard. So if this cannot be accomplished, you may, or in an extreme case, have to resign from the firm or be in compliance with this standard. To be in compliance with this standard, that means if they are not following, immediately resign that company and move away to some other organization which is good and following all the ethics, all the compliances. That means rules, regulations, laws, code of like code of ethics and professional code of conduct. Okay, standard for professional conduct. Now, so this is what first foremost guideline to you. Secondly, there is some recommendation for members, whoever are the members to firms. This is what I like about the standards of CFA, like what standards they are giving are like they're explaining them in a very proper manner. And secondly, they are having some recommendations towards the members and also recommendations towards the firms, for members and firms. So what is the recommendation for members? Establish or encourage employer. That means you should establish, or you should encourage your employer to establish procedures to keep employees informed of changes in relevant laws, rules, and regulations. That means you should always try, you should always see that everything is written compliance procedures on a regular basis. That means what is the compliance, what your company wants from everyone in the company. So you should always remind them that a review should happen. You should do that, or your employer should or you should encourage your employer to review the compliance procedures on regular basis. Maintain or encourage employer to maintain copies of current laws, rules and regulations. When in doubt about legality, of course, someone who is expert in that can be approached. So you can like any doubt about legality, you can consult the supervisor, compliance personnel like the company secretaries generally, and the lawyers, the attorneys. When disassociating from violations, keep records documenting the violations. Encourage employer to bring an end to the violations. That means if you want to disassociate yourself from any kind of activity which is a violation, keep record of those violations, and also encourage the employer to bring end to those violations. Otherwise, you have to disassociate from yourself, or you can resign the company and you can go to some other firm, join some other firm. There's no requirement in the standards to report wrongdoers. There is no requirement in the standards. Standard doesn't say or doesn't tell you about any kind of such requirement that you should report to the wrongdoers. No, but local law may require it. See, local law tells that you should bring this to the notice. Okay. Members are strongly encouraged to report violations to CFA Institute Professional Conduct Program. That means don't report things to wrongdoers. Okay, the standard doesn't say you that, but the local law says if things are wrong, bring to the notice. You can do one thing, being a member, you can kind of report these violations to CFA Institute Professional Conduct Program. See, this is what is something which you should follow very thoroughly because ethics seems to be a very easy subject, but every guideline is given here, and the words what they use and all this vocabulary and all can at times create confusion for students and can create, like they may twist things in the question. So you should be very thoroughly understanding on this. Now there are some recommendations for firms. Have a code of ethics. If definitely violations are happening because they don't have code of ethics maybe. So you have to implement them. Provide employees with information on laws, rules, regulations, and rules governing professional activities. And third point, have procedures for reporting suspected violations. That means if some violations can happen or your company is more prone to some violations, then like some procedure they should bring into the company, that or some channel they should like create whereby reporting of such suspected violations can happen. Now, point number 2, like standard 1A we have finished, that is knowledge of law. Now we are going into the, so this was the standard 1 was about the professionalism. Under standard 1 we have 1A, that is knowledge of law. Now under standard 1 we have the second one, subsection, what you can say, or substandard, that is standard 1B. Okay, so we will see how many standards that have. Then guidance standards 1C and 1D, misrepresentation and misconduct. Okay, then comes the standard 2, integrity of capital market. So we will first finish the first 4 standards soon. So independence and objectivity. With this, you can easily understand that the members and the candidates must use reasonable care and judgment to achieve and maintain independence and objectivity in their professional activities. See, every member who is working in a company, member of the institute, the professional institute or CFA institute, should work independently. That means no one should like cause their independence. Independently in the sense, there shouldn't be any kind of pressure on them to do some tasks which according to the ethics or standards you shouldn't do, or any violation. Someone asks you to do some violation. Will you do that? No, you shouldn't do that. You should work independently. If someone is asking you to do some task which is a violation, it is causing your independence, of course. So it is against your independence. Okay. Someone forcing you to do something is against your independence. That means they're not allowing you to do some task independently. And also they are like affecting your objectivity. Objectivity is something that you're working with some objective, or you are with some goals you already have towards the organization, that you want to work properly and you want to work in the organization for a longer period of time, but they are kind of impacting that. Okay, so members and candidates must not offer. That means first thing, you should not offer, solicit, that means advocate, or or suggest, accept any gift. That means you should not offer, first of all, you should not support, accept any gift, any benefits, any compensation or consideration that reasonably could be expected to compromise their own or another's independence and objectivity. See, independence is you don't want to involve yourself in any kind of task which is causing your independence, and your independence can only be caused if someone is giving you some gift or some kickbacks and asking you to work or modify your work according to their needs. Not you should not involve in such kind of acts that someone asks you to do some modification in your task, or modify your way of work as per their own needs. It shouldn't happen. Okay, you are working with some objective, and they should not impact that objective by asking you to work as per their own needs, or modify your work as per their own needs. Okay, so now analyst may face pressure or receive inducements to give a security a specific rating, to select certain outside managers or vendors, or to produce favorable or unfavorable research and conclusions. So what do you mean by this? See, analyst, who are the analysts? The one who does analysis. So CFA members can be analyst for some companies. They may face some pressure or receive some inducements. What do you mean by inducements?
Trying to convince some.
Yeah, someone can induce you like to do certain kind of tasks. Okay, so that can be termed as inducement. Okay, so they may ask you to do something, so that's what it is, inducement, or give you some incentive or something, some temptation kind of thing to do something, encouragement we can say. So analyst may face some pressure. Either someone can pressurize you or someone can encourage you to give a security a specific rating, because you are an analyst and there can be some bond which is trading in the market. You are in a rating agency, and then someone can kind of give you some someone can put some pressure on you, or someone can offer you something to give some ratings to their bonds. Okay, first thing, a specific rating, to select certain outside managers or vendors, or to produce favorable or unfavorable research and conclusion. That means something they may ask you to do, like you give a recommendation, or you give a report that some research you have done which is favor, which should be in the favor of the company. That may not be, but you should make a report of that kind. Okay, or they may ask you to give some reports against their rivals, that can be an unfavorable report for them. So you see, being an analyst and a famous analyst, it matters, really matters. People will follow your words or your commands or your recommendations. Now, members who allow their investment recommendations or analysis to be influenced by such pressure or inducements will have violated the requirement to use reasonable care and to maintain independence and objectivity in their professional activities. That means you were not of that opinion, but that opinion was obtained by you. That opinion was obtained from you by giving you some kind of pressure or some kickback or some gift, etc. And that has violated your independence. Why? Because if you did a independent research or analysis, you wouldn't have given that kind of rating which you have given by accepting gifts. Okay, that means some company, here is Mr. X, he has to give ratings to some security, and he did a thorough research, and he the security for which he did the research like is only eligible to get triple B ratings, but out of some pressure or some gifts by the company to whom this security belongs, who wants to raise funds, they ask you to give good ratings like AAA or make that investment grade. Okay, why? Because many people will not go for triple B. In some country, let's say people have a mindset of investing only in secured, in very secured bonds, in the sense sec, the high rating bonds. Okay, so now what has happened? You accepted gifts or out of pressure you did this. So that's nothing but what have you done? You have done some act which is which you should not do. Okay, and which has caused independence. Why? Because you did out of pressure or accepting gifts. Now, point number two, and you should be taking reasonable care and a proper judgment from your side should be given for giving any ratings. Okay, but you did not do that even. So allocating shares in an oversubscribed IPOs to personal accounts is a violation. So again, they like some kind of allocation of shares uh, in some oversubscribed IPO whereby people have bought many shares which was not believed actually, which was not expected, and some kind of stocks have been again taken by you for some favors, then that's a violation. Now, normal business entertainment is permitted. See, whenever you go for a business trip with a client or someone, no problem. Some entertainment is okay. But members who accept, solicit, or offer things of value that could be expected to influence members or others' independence or objectivity are violating the standard. That means don't accept very costly gifts from your clients. Okay, because that may put a pressure on you to do certain tasks in their favor, which is again against your independence. Why? Because without a research, without proper or knowing the facts clearly that company is not that deserving or your client is not that deserving, you are giving some kind of you're publishing something good about them, or you're writing some good you're giving a positive report about them. It's not good. Okay, now members may prepare reports paid for by the subject firm if compensation is a flat rate not tied to conclusions of report. See, sometimes what happens, someone can pay you a very hefty amount and ask them to ask you to make a report in their favor or make good report about them. So what would happen if you give some such reports? It's like cheating. Ultimately, one lie can lead to uh, again one lie of yours, okay, can have a very adverse impact on the investor's profile, because now they are holding some security which according to your report they have bought because they really believed in you, and when the reality has come out, that security was something which had which was not that in the sense worthy, or which was not that which did not deserve some good ratings, but it was given by you because you did it by accepting some gifts. Okay, so accepting compensation that is dependent on conclusions, that means you are like accepting something to give some conclusion, some recommendation, or market impact of the report, and the failure to disclose that research is issuer paid are the violations of standard. That means they are paying you for all that, but you did not do a thorough research, or if you did not properly disclose things. Now what has happened in Adani's case, disclosures were not there properly. Adani did not disclose many things that made that because of that investors have bought a lot of stocks. Maybe some disclosures were hidden. So if you are also accepting some compensation from some company to give a report for them, you should clearly disclose that I have accepted so and so amount for conducting research for this firm. Based upon that compensation, you have given some report. Okay, okay, whatever it is you disclose, then that shows the transparency from your side. Understanding, Abhijit? Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Now, so hidden, see, don't hide things from people. If you're accepting, see, you will do or you will definitely make a report by by because that's your job. You're performing a job and professionally you are involved in doing that job and you'll charge for that. But see what you're charging, you disclose. Okay. Now, recommendation for members. Members or their firm should pay for their own travel to company events or tours when practicable and limit use of corporate aircraft. My God, it's going to very in the sense luxury and to trips for which commercial travel is not an alternative. So members of the institute who are like analysts, okay, who have to sometimes go for some business, some trips or have to attend some events, should pay for their own travel and they should not they should limit the use of corporate aircraft, like means companies aircraft for trips for which commercial travel is not an alternative. That means there can be some trips whereby you have to go with your company's aircraft only. You don't have other other alternative for that. But if you don't have that alternative, but even though you try to limit such kind of things, okay, because what can happen is there can be influence on you like in that case. Now you can be influenced by such such show off of things and all. Recommendation for firms: restrict employee participation in the initial public offerings and private placements, require pre-approval for participation. That means don't allow your employees who are like members of some institute or some analyst into all these things, because they may come to know a lot of information. Appoint a compliance officer, have written policies on independence and objectivity and clear procedures for reporting violations. Third thing, limit gifts other than from clients to token items only. That means small gifts are okay, but not big gifts. That means don't allow any analyst of any analyst who is working in your firm to accept any kind of things above these token items. Now, 1C, standard 1C, misrepresentation. See, everyone knows what is misrepresentation. That means don't misrepresent things. Don't tell things, okay, which are wrong as right. That means don't support wrong things. That means something which is wrong is wrong. Don't say something wrong has happened, that is right. Okay. Or suppose if a particular security has to be given triple B ratings, don't give triple A ratings. Okay. That is clear misrepresentation. Am I right? Yes or no?
Oh, obviously, sir. Yes.
That can mislead the investors. Okay. So, and they will buy the security. So it's a misrepresentation. So members and candidates must not knowingly make any misrepresentation. Don't show wrong things as right. Okay. Don't show something which is wrong as right. That is misrepresentation. Relating to investment analysis. So that is what is expected from a candidate or member, that they should never misrepresent and never give any investment analysis or misrepresented investment analysis or recommendations or actions. Okay, you should not perform. So misrepresentation includes knowingly misleading investors. You know already that the firm to which you are giving a rating or preparing a report about that firm is not a good firm, but you got some good money or some good kickbacks from the company, and you were in the sense that made you to write a good report about that company, which is not a deserving company. And then what is happening? You're misleading. You're knowingly misleading. Omitting relevant information. That means some information which was to be provided about that company, which was not good about that company. You're hiding all the bad things of that company and only portraying the good things. Okay. Maybe there are some 10 points you're writing in a report, some points which were very crucial and which were very relevant, okay, which would have made the investors to decide whether to buy the stocks of that company or buy the security of that company or not. You have hidden them. Maybe those relevant information was something which was against the company, which you already knew. So presenting selective data to mislead investors and plagiarism. Plagiarism is nothing but copying some particular things from the Google and some graphs and spreadsheets and again making a report and giving it. That's it. Don't give such kind of reports. So actions that would violate standard include. So what is again, see, we are dealing with the standard misrepresentation. So you are copying someone's report and giving it. Presenting third party research as your own without attribution to the source. That means you did not even study that particular company, like company's performance or anything. Just you took third party report and just gave it like by just did some modifications and put your name and has given to someone. That is what is something which is not good. Okay, shortcuts are not good in your profession. Organic growth is what we require in a profession, okay, to sustain, not this kind of growth. Guaranteeing a specific return on securities that do not have explicit guarantee from a government body or financial institution. Again, very bad thing. It's clear case of cheating. Selecting a valuation service because it puts highest value on untraded security holdings. Selecting a performance benchmark that is not comparable to the investment strategy employed. That means you yourself are doing some sorts of like saying that I have some model and some methodology with which I give some kind of reports or some kind of ratings, and that is what which is like a good which has to be followed or which you should follow blindly and buy the stocks or securities or invest is not good. Presenting performance data or attribution analysis that omits account or relevant variables. That means not all the disclosures are given such kind of performance. You should not performance data or any attribution analysis which has some omissions. Okay, you should not present. Offering false or misleading information about the analyst or firm's capabilities, expertise or experience. That is what they are not. You are showing them as. Using marketing materials from third party that are misleading. Recommendation for members. That was like something which like what you can do. Okay, what are the violations like against this standard? That means this standard is all about what? Misrepresentation. So if you are doing all these tasks, definitely these are nothing but the misrepresentations. So what is the recommendation for members? Prepare a summary of experience, qualifications and services a member is able to perform. That's what. You should check the areas in which the member is an expert or has an experience or qualification where he can give a very strong report. Encourage employers to develop. So that's what recommendation for members. Members are like here the members of the CFA Institute. So what they should do is they should prepare a summary of experience. That means what experiences they have, in which area they have the experience. They are experts in in giving reports for which kind of firms or all kind of firms or they have good knowledge of all the types of investments or industry or specific area of security. What are their qualifications and the services what they can perform. Encourage employers to develop procedures for verifying marketing materials provided by third parties concerning their capabilities, products and services. See, encourage employers. That means they should always like the members should encourage some their employers to develop some procedure whereby or they should ask their employer to have a separate department to verify the marketing materials provided by third parties or capabilities, their capabilities and the products and services what they are offering. Cite the source of any summaries of materials provided by others. Keep copies of all reports, articles or other materials used in the preparation of research reports. Provide a list in writing of the firm's available services and qualifications. Periodically review documents and communications of members for any misrepresentation of employee or firm qualification and capabilities. This is what they have to do. Now, next comes the misconduct. It's a very big chapter. So after misconduct, we will take a small break. Okay, then we will go for standard number 2. Okay, Abhijit? Hello.
Abhijit, okay, yes.
Yeah, Abhijit. Okay. Because there are 7 standards. First, we will see how many we can finish today. Now, what do you mean by misconduct? A conduct which is not expected from a professional, in the sense a dishonest conduct or a fraudulent act. Is that a misconduct? Yes. So members and candidates must not engage in any professional conduct involving dishonesty. So any professional act what you're doing should be honest act, not a dishonest act. Any fraud or deceit or commit any act that reflects adversely on their professional reputation, integrity or competence. I don't think we explain this in details, but we can definitely go for recommendations for firms. So a member or a candidate should never involve him or herself in any dishonest act, in any fraud, any cheating. Okay, if they do that, that brings bad repute to the profession, to the institute, and also their professional reputation, integrity, and competence is also adversely affected. So what is the recommendation for firms who are employing the members or candidate members? Develop and adopt a code of ethics and make clear that unethical behavior will not be tolerated. That means if these guidelines are given to them, they will be very cautious in doing any kind of dishonest acts. Give employees a list of potential violations and sanctions, including dismissal. See, if they should always give some guidelines to the employees that what kind of acts are accepted by the company and what are not. If any violations, if they are found violating any like any rules or regulations, or if they are found in any violation or any kind of misconduct or fraudulent act, immediately some sanction or dismissal would be the the mechanism to penalize them. And check references of potential employee. That means if they are hiring someone, some references should be taken about their conduct, what kind of conduct they had in the previous organization. Okay, so now let's go for the standard number 2 within some time. Abhijit will take a break. Standard number 1 is done. Okay, 10-15 minutes. Okay, Abhijit.
Oh, no problem. No, thanks. Bye.
Yeah.